All right. Hello, everyone. I'm here with my good buddy Jay Devilliers. This is the Pickleball Wisdom and Wellness Podcast. Jay, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about a lot of different things today, but just to give you guys a little background on Jay, he is originally from France. He currently lives in Wichita, Kansas. He travels playing professional pickleball and has been doing that for several years now. And he's a top five player in the world. Also, I would say top five most handsome guys on the tour as well.
Only top five?
Only
Wow.
top five, but I'm not going to say, but he's not five.
I like it.
But
I like it.
but Jay has been dominant on the PPA tour for the past couple of years, and we're going to talk to him today a little bit about his background, how he got into pickleball, and he's going to share some things that he's learned on his journey and how, if you're looking to enter the pro level, what you can do to take your game to the next level, and then also if you're an amateur player just looking to have fun and keep your body healthy, he's going to share some tips and things that he's learned on his path. So first, Jay, let's just start talking about how you got into pickleball. I know you have a tennis background, but what was your introduction to pickleball like?
Yeah, it's actually a few years ago now. Right after graduating, I was looking for a job. I kind of gave up a little bit on tennis at that point. I was a hitting partner at the US Open, and then I was just like with a newborn and everything, it was too complicated to travel. So I was looking for a full-time job as a director, or assistant director, pretty much. That were those were my options. And My wife was doing her master in Wichita, and a director position opened up for pickleball for a place called Chicken and Pickle. So I got lucky, got the job, and yeah, that was my first initiation to pickleball. I had a good idea of how to do tennis, but for pickleball, I thought like, oh, it's very similar to tennis, smaller court. I will be okay. But then, you know, a lot of strategy and things like this changed. But yeah, the more I played, the more addicted to the game I became, and then the Chicken and Pickle asked me to play to represent the brand a little bit, and from there I never looked back and started playing full time, and here I am now competing about 28 weeks a year. So
That's pretty crazy. So how many years have you been playing professionally now?
yeah, so I took the director position in December 2018, and then I decided that I was going to go play full time in 2020.
Okay.
So 2019 was like kind of the year where I started playing a little bit of tournament. 2020 was like, hey, I'm going for it. And then March to August, it was COVID, so no traveling, nothing. So really, like my first season where I competed full time was 2021, but
Hmm.
I've been playing since 2019.
Okay, so in that initial year when you're just transitioning into playing pro, what was that like transitioning from tennis? And what would you say some of the biggest challenges were playing pickleball? Because you played tennis at a very high level, but what was it like to play pickleball against guys like Ben and Colin and guys that have been playing for years and have, like you said, thought about the
Mhm.
strategy and been playing the game for a long time?
Yeah. For me, the key was to kind of absorb their knowledge.
Hmm.
Um, Very similar to tennis, right? If you take one of the greatest player of all time, like Raj, for instance, when he was 30, 36, 37, no one expected him to play when he was 20, but still he found ways with maturity and experience. Then you have the younger guys that are trying to find their own game, what their game style. So that was the same kind of for me. Even though I was older than Ben, Ben had been playing longer on the tour. He knew exactly what he was doing. He had a very strong strategy. So for me, it was like absorbing his knowledge and knowledge of other players and try to implement it in my game, really. The biggest challenge for me was to slow down, because again, like tennis and pickleball are very similar for strokes, like, but at the kitchen line, when you're at the net so close, you can't close the net like in tennis. So for me, was it was very hard kind of understanding both strategy of playing slow to be then become aggressive. So I would be over aggressive. I would initiate, I would pull the trigger, like we say, a little bit too early, things like that. So for me, that was the hardest challenge, knowing when to do what and how to execute it properly. So yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So, can you talk a little bit about your rise to the top? Because now you've been a top five player for the past couple years. How quick did that happen? Did it happen as quick as you had originally thought? I mean, did you come into the game thinking, okay, I'm a great tennis player, I'm going to be one of the best in the world just after a year or two of playing the sport? Did you see that coming?
You know, for me, it was very tough. Because again, like I had in 2019, I had my second boy. So it was like the decision of why would I play pickleball? Like, does it make sense financially as well? Because I have a family to provide. So I really kind of like looked at the top players and I was thinking, can I be a top player? Based on my skill level, I thought that might sound a little bit cocky, but I thought like, yes, I can make it. I didn't
Mhm.
know how quickly I could make it, but I was like, I know if I put the work with the skill set that I had from tennis that helped me to translate quicker, I think I will be fine. So I took that gamble kind of very quickly. But I also had that confidence of saying I'm a better athlete. I do things better because at the time also you have to think that most of the players weren't as professional as it is now because they didn't have as much knowledge as well. So I just use my knowledge of tennis, how I used to train, how I used to do things to try to do things better than others and catch up on the time that I missed. I missed kind of,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that really helped me. And I was very lucky as well. I consider that luck because the timing was perfect. Because in 2021 they were having both tours starting up pretty much with APP and PPA. So I knew the PPA was a little bit stronger because the more experienced player were signing deals and playing full time there. So I was like, why don't I play both tours and learn from both? And that really helped me catch up for the reason that I would play a lot more than what the other players played. And that gave me more experience and kind of understand the game on different perspectives. On one tour, I had more, I feel like more room of error, like on the APP, because the players were more up and coming or not as good, or you know so the top players when I would play PPA were much tougher, the competition was tougher and forcing me to be even better. So I had that balance of both, and that was great for me. I think that helped me to transition, and then 2022, that's where I decide I will just play the PPA and focus on trying to be best player I can be on that tour.
Okay, very cool. So now you've played sports your entire life, and we know sports can really help you build character. I want to talk to you a little bit about what are some of the lessons that you've learned about life and also just things that you've learned about yourself through these years of playing tennis and now playing pickleball at the highest level possible. There's so many challenges that happen. I mean, there's so many things that come up during matches. So what are some things that you've learned on your journey as an athlete and just a pickleball player?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I feel like I was lucky growing up. I played so many different sports, team sports, individual sport. I think one thing that people don't realize enough is when you play individual sport, it's all about you, right? So it's so much easier to underperform and perform as well, because you don't win as a team or lose as a team. So when you lose, it hurts more. When you win, it's even more special, in my opinion.
Mhm.
But it's also reflects a lot about life. Because when you're in life, you gotta the situations like the problem you're having and things like. I think playing an individual sport forces you to figure things out by yourself, And that relates to life in general, where you have school that can guide you a little bit, but then once you're done with school, you're in the real life, and then things hit you for real. So I think again, all those component sports have been so amazing, and the fact that I played like several sport. I had different coaches, a lot of voices, giving me some great advice, bad advices too. But you learn from those bad advices as well, and then do things different. But yeah, I mean, so many positive traits that I had from sport. Pickleball has been genuinely better than tennis for the reason that it's more social and more friendly. Tennis was sometimes very tough and more brutal. I feel like as an individual, when you're traveling in tennis, it can be so harsh on you, where in pickleball it's like still people are so welcoming and friendly that it's not as bad in my opinion. But yeah, the biggest, probably the biggest take that I have from pickleball was really, um that social aspect, even when things don't go well and everything, like, reflecting like, hey, life is not that bad. I'm still on the court, like competing, giving my best. Yes, it kind of sucks to lose, but at the end of the day, there's more than that. And I think that this is what
Mm.
really, for me, is always like my kind of mojo is like, you gotta give your best, try your hardest, and then if things don't go well, just be better next time. Just keep working and get better. But like nothing worries me as much as when I was in tennis, where you're doubting yourself way more, I think.
Yeah, that's great. I think you touched on a couple of key things. Number one, the fact that it's such a fun sport and it's very social. It's nice to have fans and just other players around who are welcoming because they
Mhm.
can pick you up even if you're having not the best day, right? You can still have fun memories, even if it wasn't your best tournament. Maybe you had a great dinner, maybe you made some new friends. So that's the wonderful thing about pickleball.
Yeah.
And the other thing that you mentioned, which was important, is the difference between singles and doubles, because in singles you have to pick yourself up, whereas in doubles you have a partner who can help pick you up, energize you a little bit. So mentally it can be a little bit harder, but I agree with you. I think it can be even more rewarding and when you have a challenge that comes up in a singles match and you're able to have that mental breakthrough and pull
Mhm.
out a tough match, but it's also great to have that support when you're playing doubles because you guys just feed off of each other. That's just how it is in sports. So I agree. I think being a multi-sport athlete is so helpful, especially just mentally because you know how to work as a team. But then also, if you've played an individual sport, you know how to count on yourself, how to trust yourself, and just believe in yourself no matter what's going on in the match. And then you can just be grateful for the ability to compete at the end of the day because you're living the dream. You're getting to travel and play a sport that you love. So I think sometimes people lose sight of that because winning and losing can become obsessive. So it's just
Yeah.
nice to just have that gratitude to be able to play and play the sport you love. So I want to talk a little bit about your training. So how do you structure your training? Do you have a coach? Do you mostly do it yourself? And then does it vary in season as opposed to off season?
Yeah, no, it does vary a lot. My training is not consistent. This is something in tennis that was so much easier to do than in pickleball, in my opinion, because in tennis you have an off season. In pickleball, we don't really have an off season. You have couple of breaks, but you're always competing. You can always choose your schedule, but for me, what I'm looking at the most is how to be the fittest I can be, but without also taking my energy level down when I'm competing. I see a lot of players, they will probably they will lift, they will do a lot of cardio and everything, and then comes a tournament and they're so exhausted because of all the workout, and they're like, I don't understand. I'm working so hard, but then I'm not performing. So it's finding that fine line where you're not out of energy, but you're not under train either. So I will adjust based on, if I have two tournaments in a row, my work will be much lighter. It will be more like core work, more, like easier, like low reps, things like this. So I'm not burning too much energy, more maintaining at that point. And then when I have more time, then I will try to build depending on the time frame I have. Like let's say if I have 4 weeks off, that gives me enough time to build like maybe more some lift, including more lifting and heavy things and things like this, rather than if I'm a week before the tournament where I'm gonna maybe lift, but it will be very light to not get injured or things like that. So it's really a program that I based on the amount of tournament, also how I'm feeling physically. Because again, once we are like, my even if it's 2 weeks before the tournament, if we're in February, I'm still fresh. But if we're in November, I had a long season, so maybe my training will vary based on that as well. So really, I always recommend if you can have a coach that help you build that, that's great. I personally build it through my experience through tennis. I mean, I've been playing tennis since I'm 4 years old. I had coaches like helping me build these kind of programs since I was 9 years old. So I know kind of how I should be doing. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I have a good, strong idea on how I should do things. But if you don't, I would definitely recommend you to have someone to not overtrain or undertrain as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you talked about a couple of key things. Number one is periodizing your training, right? So not lifting heavy and doing lots of work right before you're about to compete. Otherwise, you're going to be under recovered and you're going to be tired and maybe your
Yeah.
energy won't be as good. So it's good that you're doing that. And you have to be mindful about, okay, this time I have off. I'm not going to be traveling, so I'm going to hit it a little bit heavier. But then when I have a tournament coming up, I'm going to be wise and listen to my body and maybe get a couple of light workouts or maybe just do some core and band work. So exactly like you said, listening to your body and understanding how you're recovering after these tournaments. I know some tournaments take more out of me, but especially when you're traveling so much like you are, can you talk to our audience about what you do after some of these long stints where you're traveling a couple weekends in a row? Because it's a lot of flying, it's a lot of stress, going across time zones sometimes. So how do you still sleep well? How do you stay hydrated and keep your body fueled? I'm just curious.
I can't tell all my secrets. No, I'm just joking. No, no, it's a great question. I mean, there are several things I do. I do also use some products, like I use Hyper Ice a lot, like the belt, the warm belt,
Yes.
that's huge for me because my lower back and my glutes usually tends to be very tight. I will use the boots to recover. I am also using Beamer. Beamer has been fairly new to me right now. I just started it and it's been great. It helped me sleep and recover better. But yeah, no, I mean, there's several products that I will use. Just like on top of my stretching and my routine kind of that I
Mhm.
do consistently when I'm off traveling or during travel. Same thing. I have kind of a plan where, let's say like right now I just came back from Vegas. My goal was like to take a day off just to let my body recover because I don't compete, and then I will do like all my training, like starting like I have stretching, I have also like some cardio works that I'm gonna do, work on explosiveness, things like this. So I implement that, and then I build it with my body how I'm feeling. So let's say my shoulder hurts a little bit, maybe I'm not gonna do sessions doing overheads if my shoulder hurts or things like that. So again, um, working around my schedule a lot, and then using the products that help me recover. One products I use a lot that I never thought I would, because I'm not a big fan of creams in general, but Aloe MD as a cream that is just so good when you're sore or when you're like a little bit hurt, the nerves are pinched or something, and you put it, it helps you a lot. And then when you stretch and use those products, I think it helps even more your recovery process. So I think, knowing what you're taking and knowing what is working for you, because things might be working for me and not working for you. So it's really understanding that, so then you can work accordingly and build your own routine.
Yeah, I love that. Shout out to Medici Leaf, by the way. I used Aloe MD as well. I got lathered up at the PPA Orlando. And just a side note for everybody, just to give you a sense of how hardworking of a guy Jay is, he wasn't in Championship Sunday, but I wake up and I text him, and he sends me a picture of him in the gym doing some band work, and I was actually headed there to do some yoga stuff. So even when he's not competing, his whole mantra of if I'm not playing Championship Sunday, I'm still gonna take care of my body and get better. I think that's something important that we can all embody, that kind of mindset. So shifting gears a little bit to talk about mindset when you're performing, do you have anything before a tournament that you do to prepare? I know for me, I like to visualize a lot, meditate sometimes. What gets you in that right headspace before you're about to compete for 3 consecutive days, maybe four?
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that question because it does matter. I know a lot of players do actually visualization. Meditation is something that I'm gonna start. We talked a little bit about it at the gym that day, but yeah, no, for me, what I do is the same thing over and over, kind of. The way I will start my day having the same thing, like making sure I have no excuses, kind of. I will prepare my bag a certain way. I will make sure that I have everything that I need, and it's the same routine. So I know I never miss, like I will never forget my shoes or something like that, because it's the same way I prepare my bag. It's the same way I will come on the court. The same warm up I will do unless I'm injured or something, but like that's always the same. So then again, I come up with my brain kind of just ready for the fact that it's the same thing over and over. I feel like a lot of players are because it's pickleball, it's I come in, I'm gonna do this. Oh, I saw this player doing this, I'm gonna try that, I'm gonna try this. It's more about repeating and doing the same thing. I mean, once my first 30 minutes are done, after that I kind of know if I'm gonna have a good day or a bad day today, just because of how I'm feeling. I can sense, like I have that ability to recognize, because I do the same thing over and over. But oh, today I'm feeling very, very good. Today I'm not feeling as good. I will have to fight through that day a little bit more. So
Mm.
I think it's really important, because again, if you prepare the same way, you're most likely to get the same outcome over and over. Most likely. So that's what you're trying to replicate, kind of.
Yeah, repetition is so key, and you're preparing your body in the same way. So it's like you're getting your body and your mind at the same time, just ready to perform
Mhm.
at the highest level. Super cool. Great answer. So, last main question here. What would be some advice that you would give to amateur players looking to make the jump to the pro level? Because I've been getting that asked a lot, and some people have small businesses and they have other things, and they're like, hey, I see all this money being invested into the sport and I really want to give it a go. I think I have potential. So how would you say, number one, what would you recommend they do to get started? What would be like your recommendations for drill to play ratio and any other things that come to mind for people trying to get in?
Yeah, no, it's a question that comes often to me as well. A lot of players come to me and I'm like, hey, I'm so talented. I know I can be pro. What should I do? And I'm like, first of all, your talent doesn't mean anything. In tennis, there's so many guys that are so talented but will never make it. And because the short answer is all about having a very very strong discipline and knowing your goals. um Everyone wants to be a pro for one day. I would love to be a pro football player, right? Or a pro golfer. But if you don't do it every single day and repeat, and try to do something to perform at your best, then your chances of making it are slimmer and slimmer. There are always exceptions. There are always like some people that are extremely gifted and then can get away with it. But I would say like 95% of those players won't make it. Maybe even higher. I'm maybe generous here. And the
Hmm.
reason why is because the other players are fairly gifted as well, and it's just like you can be good at something. This is one of the few sport also that create that kind of it's a bit tricky, because pickleball you can be very good quickly, but that doesn't mean you're going to be great. So
Yeah.
like golf can be more more punishing. You play golf and you're like, oh wow, I'm never gonna make it. Where in pickleball, you're like, oh, I'm so good. I think I could beat those guys. Beating those guys is possible, but the key is to beat them regularly. It's to perform at that level consistently. And that consistency, you need discipline. And I think that's what a lot of people are misunderstanding, the work that is put behind the doors. Like they think, oh, they play pickleball, it's so easy. Well, when you're traveling 28 weeks a year and you're working your butt off on all the time and doing the same thing over and over, it's not that easy to do. And that's why you will see a lot of players that are up and coming, they do great. And then 3 months later, their performance are okay. And
Mm,
6 months later, they're like, oh, where are they now? Because, again, everyone do their research, they do their studies, they get better, they keep improving. So the key is really discipline, having a strong goals, visualizing where you want to go, and then just do the right thing to get there, in my opinion.
yeah, absolutely. Discipline over everything. I love that. That's so important. Okay, so to finish up here, we have a couple rapid fire questions here. I'm excited to see your answers. So,
Uh-oh.
number one,
Uh-uh.
really, really important question. Who is your favorite Disney princess, Jay?
Disney princess.
Does he even know him?
I will say Cinderella because it's the only one that comes to my mind.
Really? Okay. All right. Fair, fair, fair. All right. So you mentioned you have a couple kids. What's your favorite part about being a dad?
Oof, playing with them. I have
Playing
three
with them?
boys. Like
Yeah.
playing with them is so much fun.
Yeah.
Really neat.
Anything specific or just fun
Oh
games
no,
or
no, just gaming, whatever it is. Like
I love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
I'm a big gamer. Whatever it is, I will play. I will
That's
play.
it. You're just a big kid. All right.
That's right.
No.
That's right.
What's your number one pump up jam? What song? That's a
That's a
tough
hard
question.
question. I should respect.
It's a tough question.
Kygo playlist.
Okay. Okay. Fair.
Whatever song, I love Kygo.
Kygo. I love Kygo too. Okay. Um, last one here. If do you know those chop pickleball guys
Yeah.
that do the memes and stuff? All right, so we're gonna get into their headspace for a second. So I'm gonna name a couple players, and I
Uh-huh.
want you to give a funny nickname that comes to mind, just right off the bat. Ready?
Okay. I'll
Okay,
try.
Pat Smith,
The the soldier.
the soldier, Jesse Irvine,
The beast.
Beast. All right, Ben Johns.
The Pacific Man. No emotions.
Okay, and then Irina Tereshko.
Uh, the Russian fighter.
Okay, all right, I like it. Well, I hope they see that this show and they see those nicknames. But that wraps it up for today's episode. Jay, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been an awesome talk. And,
Absolutely. Anytime,
and
Austin.
yes, and I look forward to coming to Wichita and getting in the gym with you soon, brother.
Yeah, you better. You better. If you want to take the game to the next step, you got to come to Wichita. This is a place.
That's it. Discipline, baby.